Good evening, and welcome to LMC-TV's live election night coverage. I'm Alice Bloom, and I'll be your host tonight. The races we'll be watching most closely are the mayoral and trustee races in the village of Mamaroneck. The candidates for the Democratic Party are Tom Murphy for mayor and Nora Lucas and Kelly Wenstrup for trustee. Both Tom and Nora are incumbents. Kelly is serving out an unexpired term and running for her first full term as trustee. The candidates for the Friendly Village Party are Norman Rosenblum for mayor and Stephanie Lividini and Nancy Wasserman for trustee. This would be the first time serving for Stephanie and Nancy. Norman was first elected as mayor in 2009 and served 4 two-year terms as the village's mayor. We'll keep you up to date with results as they come in. On tonight's broadcast, we'll be featuring interviews with newly re-elected and unopposed candidates from the town of Mamaroneck, as well as the 7th District County Legislator. Before we welcome newly re-elected County Legislator Catherine Parker, let's see what Village of Mamaroneck residents were concerned about. The following clip was produced by Mamaroneck High School seniors. Let's have a look.
What are some particular issues that are important to you as a voter and that you want people in charge to address?
Well, I just it's always important that we don't get away from being the friendly village that we are, and so that's important to me. And also, I think just general quality of life issues are the most important to me.
So what are some potential issues that you are thinking about or contemplating when voting in the upcoming election?
Definitely people who support local businesses. I think it's awesome when people from the town want to give back, and anyone who's willing to support that has my vote.
Because you think of where we live and what's going to happen in terms of global warming, which I believe in, and I think both candidates have plans on that, so I think that's a good thing.
Well, I'll just say like through the areas in the village that I noticed that there's a lot of new co-ops and apartments that they're building all along Boston Post Road and throughout the whole village. I think it's just too much, to put out there, so to speak. I mean, I think something else should probably go in there, like another commercial space or something.
Thank you to the Mamaroneck High School students for venturing into the community to speak with residents about their concerns. LMC also conducted a poll of village residents which covered the following issues. We asked which were of top priority: development, traffic, local business, opioids, flooding, infrastructure, or taxes. The results of that poll showed that residents' main concerns were development, infrastructure, and flooding. 20% of respondents cited that all of the issues mentioned were of concern. Thank you to all who participated. In the studio with us now is newly re-elected County Legislator for the 7th District, Catherine Parker. Catherine ran unopposed. Welcome, Catherine. Thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm happy to join you, Alice.
Well, it's a pleasure. There's so much to talk about. One of the challenges is that when there is no contest, there's also no forum to discuss the many issues in the county that need to be talked about.
It's interesting. This is my first time running unopposed.
Yes, I know.
So I have to say it feels a little bit like a breath of fresh air. But to your point about the general public, I have tried to, we had a forum actually at the Mamaroneck Town Center during our budget season to just, have a back and forth with residents about what they were concerned with. And it's unfortunate, but I think that in many ways print media and what we used to rely on locally, we've seen that, how many of our local papers are just really not covering the local politics. And so to your point, it's unfortunate that there isn't more of an opportunity for people to kind of find out what's going on.
Did you also find that, in that one forum anyway, that people are consumed with national politics right now?
I do think that the challenge for 2019 was reminding people that we're not in 2020 yet, and that there is, a good reason to pay attention right now. And actually, to the poll that you and the students at Mamaroneck High School did, and showing the different issues that people care about, I think again that really showed that there are local issues that do matter to people, and they just kind of needed for a moment to put down the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and just think about what really is affecting them at home.
Well, communication is a subject that's come up in many of our local forums, and it seems to me that the more communication there is, sometimes the less impact there is, because we have to block some of it out just to be able to function. It comes at us with alerts on our phones and the internet and Facebook, and then of course there's always television. So let's get to some of the very important points. One thing that we do note is that for the first time, New York State had early voting. Do you have any sense of whether people were excited or tuned into that?
Yeah, so I've seen a map of New York State, and Westchester County really turned out. We were one of the strongest areas for early voting. And in fact, our District 7, we were sort of in the middle of the pack for Westchester County. And considering again that there were, town of Mamaroneck and my race wasn't contested, I think that showed that people were still paying attention. So I was glad to see that we had a decent turnout.
I'm really curious to see what the result is of early voting, whether it translates into a significantly larger turnout, which is something we lament every election day.
Absolutely.
People may remember that the village of Mamaroneck race used to be in March. And with a great deal of effort, it was changed to November in the hopes that people would turn out, because that's the more understood election day, November.
Right. Well, so hot off the presses, I checked in with some of our county races, and one number that jumped out at me, I heard back from the open seat for District 1 in Westchester County. That was my counterpart, Minority Leader John Testa's seat. He decided not to run for another term. And so what we have found, we were expecting the number was going to be somewhere between the number of 2015, which again was like an off year election, where the highest level was the county ledge race, and under the 2017 race, where George Latimer was running for county executive. It's actually surpassed 2017.
Okay, good.
So I think, again, maybe that since the last presidential election, more people are participating and want their voice to be heard and are getting out and voting. And I don't know, maybe these little stickers have something to do with it, and that people feel like, you know what, I want to be a participant. I just don't want to sit back and let things happen. I want to be heard.
Well, I think early voting is a great accommodation that cites the reality of life. I mean, everybody had to vote on one day, and a lot of people don't get time off from work, and and then there's a snowstorm or a rainstorm, and a child gets sick, and there are so many things that complicate your life. Why should it be like that anymore? And I was interested to see, it seems that most poll places were pretty well organized for early voting.
They were, and it was painless. It was
Yes.
easy. You went in, there was an
No line.
electronic, no line, the electronic sign-in, which I thought
Yeah.
was really easy. Then it printed out a ballot that was tailored to.
It was
towards
your
where-
ballot.
It was your ballot for
right.
where you lived.
Yes.
So it could accommodate a lot of different communities, because don't forget, even at the Mamaroneck Town Center, we had people from the city of Rye voting at the Mamaroneck Town Center. So it was broader than just.
That's right, because
just
there were
Mamaroneck.
limited early voting centers, so people didn't go necessarily to their home voting
Yes.
center, the place they normally went. They
That's
were
right.
assigned another place.
Yes.
Did you hear anything about people being confused or uncertain where they were to go?
Thank goodness, no.
Good.
I will say that it seems that the biggest sort of concerns related to early voting happened before the early voting period, which is that initially when they had announced the polling places, there wasn't a polling place for the Sound Shore in my district. So I
got on that.
Yes, we got on that, and thanks to Supervisor Seligson as well, and Christina Battaglia, the town clerk. As Supervisor Seligson said recently, it took three strong women to get that polling
done.
place.
But you did. You
Yes.
did. Well, there always are going to be some rough spots whenever there are changes. This is a good test. Next year will be a very different election, 2020.
Yes.
Before we get to that, I really want to take advantage of the time you have with us to talk about some initiatives on the county level. One thing that changed recently is the distribution of sales tax.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure everybody's aware of that. Explain to me what that is.
Well, we actually increased the sales tax percentage to be on par with our major cities in Westchester. So when you were shopping in White Plains, you were already paying more than what you had been paying in Mamaroneck. Same with Yonkers and Mount Vernon and New Rochelle. So we created some parity there, brought that up, and what that did was it was going to, our estimate for the remainder of this year was an extra $190 million. And so while there's always been a share of property tax with the local municipalities, what we did was one step further, and we created a share that it was 30%, 20% going to the local school districts, 10% to the local municipalities.
So this is a give back.
Yeah, and it really is, the whole idea was finding another source of revenue besides property tax to relieve that burden, understanding that particularly for a lot of seniors, that really is a real burden.
Do you think it's going to help quell the rise in property taxes?
Well, the hope is certainly that, as Mayor Murphy had said, this was really like found money for the municipality, and the money that they were anticipating getting, you can pave sidewalks with that, and normally when municipalities are doing their budgets, there's so little money left over. I mean, I know a lot of people think that there must be a lot of pork in government, but really on the local level, it's not that way. The amount of money that municipal board ends up looking at on like how to spend it, that's not mandated under state or federal policy, is usually pretty small. So this was additional money that, as Mayor Murphy said, he wanted to put it right to work on infrastructure.
Well, the only thing I wonder though, you can't predict how much sales tax you're going to be able to distribute. So that's an unknown, and a local municipality is not able to say, well, we're counting on $1 million from the county.
Well, you can do budget estimates, and certainly as municipalities and the county goes forward for 2020, we're going to be plugging in a number that is an estimate looking at what we were able to get this year, and I'm sure that Mamaroneck will be doing the same thing.
So we're going to count on that. Now, there's been a big change in the distribution or in the deductibility of sales of state and local property taxes.
Yeah, the SALT deduction, and that's unfortunately coming straight from Washington.
It is, but it impacts people locally. What do you see happening in the real estate market in Westchester?
Well, I think that certainly for some of the higher end properties, I think that that's had some effect. Although we're still seeing that there is a market that's moving in Westchester. It sounds, and I'll just put it in a little bit of perspective. We live in a highly desirable area for several reasons. One, the product of our public school system is phenomenal. And people that are living in Manhattan right now that are currently, starting a family, have a few kids, they're doing the math and they're comparing maybe private school to coming out to Westchester and saving money by having public schools. And I have to say, it's all relative to somebody else's circumstances. So there are still people that feel like this is a great deal. This is a way to save money. And I've met some of those people recently who have moved into the community in Mamaroneck and Larchmont, and they are very, very happy with their beautiful home and feeling like they have some extra space and great schools.
Well, there are a lot of compelling features about Westchester, and I think everyone was holding their breath to see what impact the lowering deductibility was going to have. So much else to talk about. Rye Playland. There's been a lot of talk about changes there. Give it in a nutshell, tell us what the status, who's running Rye Playland these days?
Well, the county continues to run Rye Playland. I think if you continue to have me back, I'm just going to continue to say that. But yes, we unfortunately we had tried to have a smooth transition with a public-private partnership. Our private partner had basically missed deadlines to pay the county the money that was due. So in my opinion, they were in breach of contract. And when there was a change in the administration, new county attorney, new county executive, new county administration, a lot of people were taking another look at the contract itself and realizing that, these partners maybe aren't exactly who we thought they were.
Okay, so the county is running it. You had a good summer?
We did. We had a great summer. Part of that was great weather, but I think that County Executive Latimer has really put an emphasis on marketing for Playland and brought in a new ride. And so we really saw a
Did you get
boost
to
in
ride it?
attendance. I did. It was great. I highly recommend the Dragonator for people for next season.
Now, there have been a number of changes in the way the budget is handled in the county of Westchester. What changes have you made under the present administration?
Well, actually, right before the present administration started, we had brought the time that the capital budget was presented to the Board of Legislators. We created a little bit more of a window there so that the public would have more time to take a look at that. And we also ensured that the budget was going to be delivered to the Board of Legislators the Friday after Election Day, so we could get started. What this county executive has done, which I really applaud, is that prior to the release of the budget, he's really been in a listening mode, going to different communities in the county and having public town halls with people, just talking about what they would hope would be included in the budget or not included in the budget, whichever way. And again, I'm sure that the conversations that have been had with the public are reflected in the product that I will see for the first time on Friday.
Okay, anything in particular come to mind as to what people were worried about or wanted to see happen?
Well, we often hear on a couple of different levels. One, I think things that really impact families, childcare, parks. We often hear people concerned about some of the programs that we have in our parks, ensuring that those programs will continue to be funded. Of course, on the other end of the spectrum, people, again, very sensitive to the fact that in our area, and without being able to take a full SALT deduction, property taxes and the burden of property taxes
That's what's concerned
are really
But there have been
meaningful.
also some very clear changes in strategies in the way the budget is handled. I understand no more borrowing for operating expenses.
Yeah, that was something that prior to this administration, and having been in another municipal government where that was a real no-no. You don't borrow for operating expenses.
Things like pensions.
Pensions and tax certiorari's, which are basically grievances, challenges
Right.
to somebody's property tax. And, just a lot of policies of borrowing that, again, we were getting told that there was no tax increase. But when you have a bill that's going to be due, you know that you actually are just, kicking that can down the road.
It's just
so
shifting around.
this administration has been, I think, so much more transparent and really saying, well, let's deal with the problem at hand and let's not just push it off to tomorrow and pretend that,
Well, there was some other clear strategy changes too, and that was like no one-shot sales. I mean, there was talk about privatizing the airport. Is that a dead deal now?
There was talk about privatizing the airport in the prior administration, and that was really presented to the Board of Legislators without any real full discussion. I mean, it really came at sort of the 11th hour of that administration. This administration, I think, rightly said what we need to really do is look at a real need for a master plan for the airport that takes into consideration concerns of the local communities. And one of the concerns that we were hearing about as we were going around the county and holding town halls on that was noise. So, there are flight patterns that happen. I think in Mamaroneck, you're fairly fortunate that you're not directly over a flight path, but you'd be surprised how many communities really are impacted by that. And so the county has actually done a lot with putting up noise monitors and trying to be, I think, a better neighbor to the communities. And so that's first and foremost.
What they've been done. We're all about results here. We're looking at the races in the village of Mamaroneck because there are no opposed races in our community. The town of Mamaroneck also has three unopposed.
Yes.
Three, right. Well, and even the clerk is
That's
running
true,
for re-election,
yes.
so it's really 4.
Yes.
We'll be talking with Nancy on recording later, but it's about results, and we have results with one district reporting. I feel like I have to share that.
Please.
There are 59 votes for Tom Murphy to 56 for Norm Rosenblum. 56 for Nora Lucas to 52 for Stephanie Lividini, and Kelly Winstrup has 55 to 35 for Nancy Wasserman. Now, I caution you, these are not compelling results. They are not final results. It's just one district reporting, but we know what you're waiting for. So I felt I needed to share it with you. Catherine, I know you've got other places to be, but there are about 17 races in the county.
Right. Every single legislative district is up in every odd year. So it's a little political gerbil wheel that we all run on. But there were 6 contested races that are going to be very interesting. 2 are open seats, and those are farther up north, District 1 and District 4. Again, I mentioned the seat of John Testa, the minority leader, who is a Republican, and then Michael Kaplowitz, who is a Democrat, who after 22 years decided that he was going to retire at the end of this term. And I think those will be interesting races. I actually feel very optimistic about those races.
Okay, so what's at stake in this race? I mean, is the balance of the majority?
We have a supermajority right now, and I think we're going to hold on to our majority, and I think we may even pick up a seat or 2.
Well, good luck. We'll be watching.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much for
Alice.
being here. I ask you to stay with me. I so appreciate your time tonight. I know that you have other places to be, but I'm going to ask you to sit right there for just a little bit longer. While we wait for results in the village of Mamaroneck, here are some words from the newly re-elected supervisor of the town of Mamaroneck, Nancy Seligson. Welcome, Nancy. Wonderful to have you again. Congratulations upon your re-election. I know it's not a contested race, but there's still lots to talk about. Now, you've been on the town council since 2000?
That's correct.
That's right.
Yes.
And you've been supervisor of the town of Mamaroneck since 2011.
Correct.
I've done a little homework.
Yes.
So I think it's fair to say you're the senior statesperson on the town council.
I am at this point. That's true.
How does it feel?
It's nice, actually. I enjoy it. I feel like I have so much more information and so much more experience that I'm more comfortable and able to do actually more because of that. And it's kind of nice having a senior statesman position because I feel like I can help other people, and I love speaking to younger people and working with students and interns, and also guiding other people on the staff and other colleagues, other town supervisors or mayors and elected officials, and being able to, relay my experience and work with them.
How nice. You're commanding respect, and you're not feeling that people are going, oh, she's done it her way for so long, it's time for a change.
I don't feel that way, no,
Okay.
but I'm a very open person to suggestions, and I'm really interested to hear what other people have to say.
There's so much to talk about. Let's start with a topic I know near and dear to your heart, and that's the environment. I know you started out with the Long Island Sound Task Force many years ago, and
Yeah.
I know you're still prominent with it. But you have a tremendous commitment to the environment and certainly to the water quality in our area. What has changed in your tenure?
Water quality has improved.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yes, it's really good news. I still participate in the Long Island Sound Study, and that is the National Estuary Program for Long Island Sound. And we have a reduced amount of hypoxic areas in the Sound, which means that there's more oxygen or less low oxygen. And that's good for all marine creatures. Some shellfish beds have opened up on Long Island and in Fairfield County in Connecticut. So water quality has improved, and there's a lot less nitrogen going into the water from point sources like sewage treatment plants.
Well, what has enabled that?
Lots of investment in upgrading the sewage treatment plants for those point sources. So they have been improved, and they are polluting a lot less. There's a lot less nutrients in the water. And then there's been a lot of work on Long Island about dealing with polluted runoff and groundwater, because there's many septic systems on Long Island. They do not have the luxury of having the sewers as we do in Westchester. So we also, in our communities, have been working hard to repair and maintain our sewer lines. And the 4 municipalities that form a consortium with the town of Mamaroneck are New Rochelle, Pelham, and Pelham Manor, and Larchmont. And the four communities, have been working together to upgrade and repair and maintain all of our sewer lines. And that has also helped with water quality because we have less stormwater infiltrating, and we're able to treat the sanitary water much better.
There are some other initiatives. I know there's a plastic bag ban.
Yes, so
coming.
we finally, in the town of Mamaroneck, we finally passed a plastic bag ban law, and it's on single-use carry-out bags. The law, we've actually been working on it for many, many years, but we were waiting for the city of New York initially to pass their law and thought we would piggyback on that. Then we knew the state was working on a law, and the state has included in their budget for 2020 a law that is expected to go into effect in March 2020. But we decided not to wait, and we moved forward, and our law goes into effect December 1st.
Well, what is that going to look like for consumers?
When you go to Stop and Shop or Walgreens, CVS,
any store,
you will need to bring your own reusable bag.
So they will not have any bag available for you?
They will not have plastic bags available. They might have paper bags available, and they will cost 5 cents each. And this is all an effort to wean people off of plastic bags because we know that they cause tremendous amounts of pollution, are used literally for something like 27 seconds on average, and create a demand for plastic that we'd really like to get off of. So the town has some reusable bags for free that we will be supplying to some of the stores and encouraging people to use. We will help the stores put posters in their windows to let people know this is coming. And, if you forget everything and you don't have one, you can buy a paper bag for 5 cents. Our law goes into effect December 1.
I'll be interested to see how it works. Fingers crossed that it makes a big change. What about the budget? Now, if you want to know what people's values are, you look at how they spend their money. How is the town spending money these days?
Well,
other than the environment.
Yes, and we don't spend much money on the environment, but we are spending our money in a way that keeps the services and the high level of services that we currently provide intact, and trying to look at additional ways to become more efficient, share services with our sister municipalities, and to really repair and maintain infrastructure. And I think that's probably universal for most municipalities. But I'm very happy to say that our proposed budget for 2020 will come within the tax levy cap. So right now we're looking at about a 2% increase. And that will allow us to keep the services at a high level and allow us to fix some of that sewer infrastructure I talked about. But there's also recreational infrastructure that needs to be updated and improved. Even our regular buildings need to be updated and improved.
But how are you doing that and keeping this cap in place? I know you have the right to supersede the cap if you desperately need.
We have 4 years out of 8, I believe.
And what was the need that was so great that you had to do it?
Infrastructure improvements.
Yeah. Because everybody's struggling with those issues.
Yeah.
I mean, as I came here today, a stairway isn't working, or an escalator's not working, a bathroom is closed.
Those are high-ticket items.
They are.
And the problem with the cap, among many things, is that it doesn't allow municipalities to exclude those kinds of large capital expenditures from the cap. So there's been years when we said, if we want to pave X number of streets, or if we want to fix the roof of the town center, we're going to have to go over the cap.
What are the hard choices that you've had to make to stay within the cap?
I would say mostly staff as well. Running a municipal government, the cost is really in the staffing because we have a lot of employees, and we need employees because it can't be an automated government yet. We still need people who are going to plow the streets and who are going to fix the streets.
There will be robots one day.
Yes, but not yet. We don't have them yet. So I think that we really had to pare down on staff at times when we were looking at looking at the recession and the cap. But
Was that painful?
yes, it definitely was. And as sort of the demands grow or the level of service grows, it's hard to not also grow the staff. I mean, communication is a perfect example. We now have to communicate in social media, with social media, and takes a lot of time. It's not easy to do. So you've got multiple Facebook pages, you've got website updates, you've got all kinds of newsletters that go out electronically. And we find that we really need a dedicated person to do that.
And someone who's skilled at doing that.
Absolutely.
Because the old skills of creating a newsletter and seeing that it's bulk mail doesn't quite cut it today.
No, it doesn't.
Do you still do an old newsletter?
I do send out a snail mail newsletter twice a year, but I do a monthly electronic newsletter that I hope people sign up for because it really does keep you in touch with what's going on in the community. Another example is IT, information technology. It's so much more sophisticated and bigger and expensive than it ever has been. And cybersecurity is a major issue for the community as well. We read about municipalities being hacked or held at ransom, and we want to avoid that. So that's another big expense for us.
One last question before I let you go. I know you have so many places to be. There's been a big change in the tax law. State and local taxes are only deductible up until $10,000 now. Now, in communities like this with very high taxes, that's got to hurt. What are you seeing happening?
We haven't seen it yet. I'm going to knock on wood. I was fearful that there would be an immediate response to that. But, I think that we have such a strong and desirable community and that we are such a wonderful commute to New York. We're on the water. We have a great school system. There's a lot of amenities here that really appeal to people. So far we have not seen a great change, and I'm hoping we won't.
Well, I hope you're right about that. It's got to be hard for people who counted on that deductibility.
Absolutely. It's kind of frightening to think about the magnitude of that change for some people.
I mean, we know that the town is not responsible for the taxes. You collect school taxes, and that's a big part of everybody's tax bill.
And county taxes.
And county taxes. Well, that's a smaller part of it.
Yes.
But it is. But it does contribute. And that's one of the
Yes.
reasons taxes are quite high in this area. I mean, it's not disputable. So people who are counting on deductibility have to make peace with that.
Yes, they do. We certainly struggled and fought against the changes. We joined a lawsuit. We supported the effort to try and reverse it, but we were not successful, and so we are stuck with it at this point.
Nancy, it's always a pleasure. We've covered a lot of ground. I look forward to working with you again. Congratulations on all that you've achieved and on your re-election.
Thank you very much, Alice. Nice.
Welcome back. And of course, we thank Nancy for sitting down with us and continuing to provide updates as town supervisor. As I mentioned, she's the veteran on the town council now. Well, Catherine, it's so nice of you to be able to stay a little bit longer. There's more to talk about. I understand more results are coming through very shortly, and it looks right now that the Democrats have the stronger showing right now, again, with very few districts reporting. So we're not calling any races just yet. And as soon as I have some actual numbers, I will tell everybody about it. Very shortly, we're going to go to some tapes with Abby Katz and Jeff King, who also ran unopposed for their council seats in the town of Mamaroneck. But we were talking about the climate or culture of the County Board of Legislators and how that might have changed in the last 2 years.
Well, it definitely has changed in 2 years. Before 2017, there was no way that we were passing legislation that it was Republican controlled, and Rob Astorino was the county executive. So a lot of things that really were reflective of what I feel is the culture of Westchester, regardless of party. Things like, not having gun shows at our county facilities. I mean, that was something that across the board, whether, 78% of Democrats and Republicans really believed that that was good policy for Westchester.
So that no longer will there be gun
And we had to
sales.
wait till we had a real sea change, and that occurred after the 2017 election.
We have lots more to talk about, but I do have some results, so let's Let's bring them to our viewing public. With 10 to 15 districts reporting. Now again, there are some 30, I think, in the village of Mamaroneck.
Almost, yes.
Almost 30 districts, so this is just about half, maybe a little less. Tom Murphy is now leading with 1,377 votes. Nora Lucas has 1,325 votes. And Kelly Wenstrup, 1,378 votes. Again, 10 to 15 districts reporting. Norm Rosenblum trails with 892 votes. That's in the race for mayor with Tom Murphy. Nora Lucas is leading Stephanie Lividini with Stephanie has 847 votes to Nora's 1,325. And Nancy Wasserman has 532 votes to Kelly Wenstrup's 1,378 votes. This is not very scientific. We do not have full results yet, but it does look like the Democrats have a very strong lead in the village of Mamaroneck so far.
Yeah, and I would say that was something that I was predicting was going to happen for the village of Mamaroneck. One, I felt that the message that the team had was very strong, again, on the issues of, really being careful about development. I think was something that really resonated with folks. And again, to your poll, certainly that's what it showed.
But there was a real difference of opinion. If you saw the League of Women Voters Candidates Nights, which is a wonderful service to the community. And Norm Rosenblum really has a very different view about the moratorium. He felt that was a great dagger in the heart of development and economic development in the village, and clearly Tom Murphy and the Democrats felt quite differently, that was a good reset time and didn't see it as an economic debacle at all. So there are very clear differences. And right now it looks like people are embracing the Democrats' view of things so far. We shall see. We were talking about the county center, and there will be no more gun shows there. What's the status of marijuana sales in the county?
So New York State is, they are debating what will happen with, whether it's been decriminalized, but, as far as whether it's legalized. And, certainly it didn't come up for a vote in this last session. I was actually rather glad to see that. I felt that was something that we really needed to get additional information on before the state was.
So that's status quo. No, nothing's happening in the county, and county's not looking to take a lead on that.
No, and we wouldn't have the authority to do that in the county.
Well, it's good to know that, so that anybody who's wondering why the county has not moved forward realizes now that you just don't have the opportunity to do that just yet. I'm going to ask you to stay with us. We have some comments and some remarks from Abby Katz and Jeff King, who ran unopposed for their council seats in the town of Mamaroneck. Let's go to the tape.
Thank you to LMC-TV for providing me this opportunity to talk to the residents of the town of Mamaroneck. My name is Abby Katz, and I'm running for my third term as councilwoman for the town of Mamaroneck. As a town councilwoman, I represent the unincorporated portion of the town as well as the villages of Larchmont and Mamaroneck. Through my years on the board, I've served on a variety of boards and commissions. These include the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Board, the Coastal Zone Board, the Board of Assessment Review, the LMC-TV Board of Control, the Larchmont Library, and my personal favorite, the Traffic Committee. Sitting on all these boards has allowed me to see how the town government works and also to get a feeling for what the residents expect from their town government. There are a number of items that our board has completed during my tenure that I'm very proud of. One of the most important ones is the reevaluation of all the town properties. The town updated its tax roll for the first time since 1968. This process allowed all properties to be reassessed at full market value, and it eliminated all the inequities in the tax roll. This helps ensure that all residents pay their fair share of property taxes. Under Supervisor Nancy Seligson, we've worked hard to reduce our carbon footprint and have worked on a number of sustainability and resiliency initiatives. These include implementing a food waste recycling program, installing electric vehicle charging stations, which you'll see here at the town center, as well as on Myrtle Boulevard, at Memorial Park, and eventually at the ice rink. We've just recently passed a plastic bag ban, which eliminates the use of the single-use plastic bags at all retail establishments. We've put in a new town center parking lot that incorporates a lot of environmental initiatives that includes filtering the water and includes porous pavement, which will help reduce flooding in the area. We've put in all new LED streetlights in the town, which was something that took a lot of getting used to, but now that we have it, I think the residents are happy with it. It helps save energy, and it has a lot of useful features, such as if there's ever a disaster and we need to evacuate, we can turn on just those streetlights that pave the way to tell people which way to get out of town. We also purchase hybrid cars whenever possible, and we have some new ones in our next town budget. The recreation department has continued to flourish these past few years. We serve a wide range of people, from toddlers to senior citizens. Some of the big accomplishments are we renovated the ice rink. We've had 2 successful years of the food festival. I hope most of you went this October. I waited online half an hour to get a lobster roll, and it was definitely worth it. We have a bunny hop that helps encourage fitness and gets a lot of people out on the streets in our little race down Memorial Park. And we also purchased a movie screen, which allows us to show movies in Memorial Park, as well as providing rainy day activities for the camp. We've also redesigned our website the past few years, and then we're probably going to be doing that again in the future. The fire department has purchased new ladder truck and an engine truck, and we've also renovated the firehouse floor so that they can accommodate these vehicles, and we're redoing their basement right now. We purchased the VFW and have turned it into our senior center, which allows us to have a variety of recreational activities there. Moving forward, the big activity for the next year is the town has just awarded a contract for a comprehensive plan. This is going to provide a blueprint for all planning and decision-making going forward for the next 20 years. And a huge part of this is going to be getting feedback from residents like you. So we hope everybody will come out and attend those visioning meetings and tell us what they want for the future town of Mamaroneck. We're going to continue to optimize our recreational spaces, looking at improved use of the outdoor pool area. We're looking to add showers to the ice rink locker rooms. We want to increase pedestrian safety and add sidewalks wherever it's feasible. We're going to be putting in a traffic light and redoing the Madison Avenue corridor. And of course, everybody's welcome to go to the US Open at Wingfoot next year. As I'm running unopposed, I'd like to thank the town residents for coming out and supporting me, and I'm looking forward to serving you for another 4 years. Thank you.
Good evening, Town Councilman Jeffrey King. I want to thank all the voters who came out this evening to vote for me. I appreciate your support. This past year has been a terrific year, I believe, for myself and all my town council members. We've been working on legislation that affects everyone in our community, be it the parking restrictions, be it the gun laws which we've passed, and also looking forward to the future and working with my fellow town council members, looking at issues which affect all of us in our community, be it the Sustainability Collaborative, as well as the comprehensive plan which we're looking at, an all-encompassing plan that integrates all aspects of our community in terms of recreation, housing, how we look at ourselves, the footprint of what we want to do going forward, be it the next 5 years or the next 10 years. So once again, I just want to thank all the voters in the community for giving their trust and confidence in me, and I look forward to another 4 years in working with Town Council. Thank you very much.
Town under their leadership. We'll keep you posted about results as soon as we have them. I just want to note that the numbers I cited a little bit earlier, which I'm going to recap for you now, do not include early voting. So take that into account. We don't know if that will mirror, as Catherine said, mirror the results that we do have. Tom Murphy again leading the pack with 1,377 votes to Norm Rosenblum's 892. That's in the race for Village of Mamaroneck Mayor. Nora Lucas has 1,325 votes, and Kelly Wenstrup 1,378. Stephanie Lividini has 847, and Nancy Wasserman 532. Again, that does not include early voting. We understand there are also some problems with some machines in the village, and we don't know how many are in play or how many are compromised. So as soon as we know more, we will tell you. We have people in the field, actually, our LMC staffers, as well as high school students who are at headquarters. So we'll be hearing from them very shortly. Catherine, I know that you're on your way out. Let me just cite two other initiatives that the county legislature achieved in your tenure or in the last 2 years, and that's the raising the age of tobacco use from 18 to 21.
Well, so the board has been really focused on initiatives that protect the public, either health or public safety. And that was one that we felt we could do that would really be helpful to kids. By raising the age to 21, most kids would be introduced to tobacco or e-cigarettes through older friends or brothers and sisters. Sure. And so if you raise the age to 21, it kind of keeps the kids from those in high school passing it down to those that are younger. And
how did parents feel about that?
We received a lot of support. And in fact, when I've, since it's passed, I can tell you that for most people that I've come across, they have said, oh, I think that's wonderful. And then New York State followed suit. I think we really led on that, and we showed the way to the state, and so the state ended up raising the age to 21 also.
Well, it's good that we took a leadership role on that. And then, of course, there's the issue of vaping. Is there a ban on vaping?
There's not a ban on vaping right now. We've been studying that. We had a public hearing on possibly eliminating all the flavors but tobacco for vaping, because, again, it seems that, these companies target youngsters by having flavors like bubblegum and cotton candy and juicy fruit and things like that would appeal to a younger audience. And so we thought, nope, let's just give them, tobacco or nicotine. But again, it's really something that we've been in discussion with our health department about what can we do, and considering all the illnesses that have been and how people have been affected across the country, we are definitely looking at taking
lots of concern. And from what I hear from friends and neighbors, a lot of younger children are vaping.
Yes.
I mean, children way younger than you think would have started smoking. So we look forward to your progress on that issue as well. I'm going to ask you to stay with us for just a moment, but I want to thank you for being here, and congratulations on your re-election.
Well, thank you very much.
We'll talk again same time next year.
I would love that. Thank you, Alice.
Look forward to it. Now, we're going to keep you posted about any information that comes up with our results of our local election in the village of Mamaroneck just as soon as we have it. But now we're going to turn our eyes to the past and to a great organization that plays a critical role throughout the year for Election Day. The League of Women Voters has played a critical role for the last 100 years. 100 years this month. Stand by for news and updates while we watch the League of Women Voters 100 years.
From the victory of securing the woman's right to vote sprung the League of Women Voters. This nonpartisan group was founded as a continuation of voter rights with a focus on voter education. Who is running, what position, and how to register. Important information needed for an educated democracy. In 1920, Westchester was the first county to have a league, and various sections sprouted. Larchmont had a local league established as early as 1922. New York State leagues became a prototype for local and state chapters. Today, there are over 700 leagues. In the 1970s, the league started to sponsor televised presidential debates and continued to provide a nonpartisan forum for the public to learn about candidates every 4 years. But in the 80s, with political pressure and restriction, the league stepped down from presidential debates.
Beholden to no political party, the League has for 68 years been looked to for the even-keeled information voters need around election time. Soon after its founding, the League got into the business of bringing candidates and experts together in public to discuss and debate various positions on various issues. These forums were held at the local and state level in meeting halls, churches, synagogues, and schools, and eventually they were held on radio. All in all, they turned out to be an excellent means toward the League's end of providing voter information and encouraging people to vote. In 1976, the League institutionalized debates at the national level by bringing televised, nonpartisan exposure to the presidential candidates' views, positions, and priorities. Representatives of the two campaigns came to us on September 28th, just 2 weeks before the debate, with an agreement we were told we had to sign. The agreement had been reached by the campaign chairman, and it spelled out everything. Obviously, we have been presented with campaign demands before. We have agreed to some, and we have challenged and negotiated others. But never in the long history of the League of Women Voters have two candidates' organizations come to us with such stringent, unyielding, and self-serving demands. In Winston-Salem, which you know was not a League of Women Voters debate, they went so far as to insist on reviewing the moderator's opening comments. It turned out that the League had two choices. We could sign their closed-door agreement and hope the event would rise above the manipulations, or we could refuse to lend our trusted name to this charade. The League of Women Voters is announcing today that we have no intention of becoming an accessory to the hoodwinking of the American public.
The League still sponsors local debates to this day.
Welcome everybody to our 2019 debates. My name is Alice Pernick. I'm co-president of the League of Women Voters of Larchmont and Mamaroneck. Our mission is to empower voters and defend democracy. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan and neither supports nor opposes any of the candidates you'll see tonight.
And still continues voter education. This marks the beginning of 100 years of the League of Women Voters and voter education in America.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that tape. Let's have an update on the results in the village of Mamaroneck. We're hearing that with half the vote counted, the Democrats have a very strong lead. I don't have new numbers, but I'll recap what I do have. With at least 10 to 15 districts reporting, and that is about half the village of Mamaroneck, Tom Murphy leads with 1,377 votes to Norman Rosenblum's 892. Nora Lucas, 1,325 to Stephanie Levedini's 847. Kelly Wenstrup, 1,378 to Nancy Wasserman's 532. Again, these are not final results, but they are very compelling results, and I think the Democrats are feeling very heartened. Now, Robert Millman is an accomplished activist, documentary filmmaker based in Glenville, New York. He's the filmmaker behind Line in the Street. Line in the Street tells the story of the heroes and villains fighting for voters' rights in Pennsylvania in 2017 and 18, and the landmark state court victory that forced the redrawing of all 18 congressional districts in Pennsylvania, an origin story for the current events in North Carolina, and the only legal basis that exists to challenge gerrymandering. On June 27th of this year, the Supreme Court ruled that the federal law is non-justiciable with regard to gerrymandering, which only leaves state law and state constitution. The following clip is an excerpt from the film and helps explain an important election issue, gerrymandering. Let's go to the tape.
Partisan redistricting, or gerrymandering, is about fractions, percentages. These coins represent voters in an evenly divided state, 50 dimes, 50 pennies. These 100 coins elect 10 representatives. That means each voting district must contain 10 coins. Now, real people don't live in neat rows, so let's mix them up. Okay, This is our hypothetical, evenly divided state. Let's see what happens if the dimes draw the maps. 10 coins in each district. For the dimes, first thing we do is pack the pennies. Give them 2 safe districts, but pack them solid. The remaining 8 districts are won by the dimes, by smaller but still comfortable margins. The dimes win 8 districts, and the pennies win 2. The dimes overwhelmingly control the legislature. Of course, if the pennies drew the district lines, the opposite would be true. Let's rig it for the pennies. For the pennies, we follow the same pack and crack strategy. Pack the dimes into 2 safe districts and crack the remaining 8 districts to win by the same margin, 8-2. Well, now that we've destroyed democracy, let's consider what this map would look like if the districts were drawn for compactness and keeping communities of interest together. You get evenly divided districts in an evenly divided state. Some go heavily dime, some go penny, but that's to be expected. People live where they live, and that is what democracy is about. It's not about party bosses rigging election districts so they can fix the election results.
Did you know you can watch LMC-TV on your Apple TV in full high definition? Go to the App Store and search for ScreenWeave. Install the Cablecast ScreenWeave channel. Look for the green icon. Open the channel, scroll to LMC-TV, and press OK. Your device will remember your selection in the future. From within the app, you can watch all 3 of LMC-TV's channels live. Or check out municipal and school board meetings, varsity sports, and the local live on demand. LMC Cast.
The whole system is fine. All right, cool. I definitely would recommend doing podcasts if you are someone that likes to get something off the chest, or you want to just talk about anything in the world that just might interest you. Podcast here at LMC-TV is amazing.
I hope you're listening out there.
Welcome back. Well, there aren't absolute results yet in the village of Mamaroneck, but we understand that Tom Murphy has given a victory speech and is on his way to join us very shortly. Let me recap the results of the election as we know it. These are not final numbers. They are about half of the districts reporting. Tom Murphy with a very clear lead of 1,377 votes to Norm Rosenblum's 892 votes. Again, this is with only about 15 districts reporting. Nora Lucas has 1,325 votes to Stephanie Lifidini's 847, and Kelly Wenstrup 1,378 to Nancy Wasserman's 532 votes. Now again, this is about half the votes returned. Certain districts are always key, so if Tom Murphy has made a victory speech, he has a very clear indication that he's won. I assume he's made that same conclusion for his 2 running mates, but we'll know that very shortly when he gets in here. Those numbers don't include the numbers from early voting. And we also know there have been some problems with machines in the village, so that may delay the ultimate final tally. Well, as we'd like to take this time while we're waiting for our live guests to make it into the studio to show part of my discussion with Supervisor Nancy Seligson. One topic she was very eager to share with the community was about the town of Mamaroneck's comprehensive plan. Let's go to that tape. One subject that's on every municipal leader's mind is a comprehensive plan. Now, people used to call that by other names. They used to call it a zoning plan or
a master plan.
Master plan. That's what I heard when I was a young member of the planning board, a master plan. What is a comprehensive plan? It sounds daunting.
It is a little bit daunting, but a comprehensive plan is a visionary document for a community. It is an opportunity to lay out what you would like to see your community be, what it is, what you'd like it to see it be, and what some of your goals and objectives are for the community, and to create policies as well. And the state of New York empowers every municipality to be able to create a comprehensive plan, and actually more than empowers them, actually requires them to have one, because all the laws of the community stem from a comprehensive plan.
So who decides what goes into that comprehensive plan?
It really is the governing board, but if you do it right, it involves the residents and the public, because that's who you want to tell you about what they'd like to see their community be.
So do you schedule meetings with the public and work sessions with them?
Yes, we are about to embark on an update of the comprehensive plan for the town of Mamaroneck. It hasn't been done since the late 80s, which is a long time. And we have hired a consultant, and one of the really the most important element is going to be a robust public outreach element. And we are going to reach out and hold public meetings. We're going to have different kinds of forums to reach people. We're going to have large public meetings, small public meetings, reach out to leaders in the community who can bring us into different homeowners associations or faith-based organization, just to reach people and to ask people. We're going to have a survey. We're going to ask people to tell us what they'd like to see.
Okay, so they don't necessarily have to have planning skills or land use skills?
No. We just really want to know from the public. We're going to ask them in subject areas. You know, what would you like to see, or if anything different would you like to see in the community regarding development?
Development's a big issue, but things like traffic patterns.
Yes, mobility, we're calling it now.
Okay.
Because we want to include all mobility, not just cars. We want to hear what people think about bicycle lanes and scooters and,
Or what about an
pedestrians.
aging population? People who may have other needs for transporting themselves
Right,
from
shuttle
place
buses, whatever.
Or walkers.
Or walkers, yeah.
Whatever. How long will this process take?
We think it'll take about 9 months, and we're hoping to kick it off really in the next month or so.
Okay. If somebody wants to participate, how do they reach out to you?
Please reach out to me. And so they can call my office, which is 381-7805. They are welcome to email me at supervisor@townofmamaroneckny.org. The longest
I always
email
get
address.
something wrong.
Yeah. And they can go onto the website if they didn't remember all of that and find a contact and just let us know through the website that they'd like to participate.
So this is the perfect case for people to participate because they see a need in their community, or they would really like to see a tree someplace, or whatever their needs are.
Yeah, and we want them to think kind of big. You know, it isn't a process to fix, a road condition on your street, but, what would you like your street to look like? And how does it fit into the grander scheme of things? What kind of recreational opportunities could you hope for the town? So there's some really bigger issues that we'd like to hear from people so that we can formulate policies that will then help us govern and make decisions for the future.
And then how will you publish the results to the community?
We will there'll be iterations of it going out to the community. And certainly when we have a complete one, we will have, I hope, a party for it.
All right, I want to be there. I'd like an invitation. Nancy, thank you so much.
Do you need space for a meeting, conference, or presentation? LMC-TV has what you need. Our 768 square foot studio space is ideal for many types of productions, readings, recitals, rehearsals, and workshops. The space has video recording capability, as well as daylight temperature lighting, green screen, and stage. 2 additional rooms at 208 and 156 square feet can be used for any of your needs. Auditions, meetings, classes, workshops, one-on-one instructions, and more. Both rooms feature video monitors with Chromecasting capability, making presentations a breeze. To reserve one or more of our spaces,
contact us at reserve@lmctv.org.
Welcome back. Well, we're still awaiting the appearance of the victorious candidates in the village of Mamaroneck. It seems like a very clear win for the Democrats. We don't have final numbers, but I'll tell you what we do know. With about 15 districts, which is almost the entire community reporting, Tom Murphy leads with 1,377 votes to Norman Rosenblum's 892 votes. Nora Lucas has 1,325 votes to Stephanie Lividini's 847 votes, and Kelly Wenstrup 1,378 votes to Nancy Wasserman's 532 votes. It does look like a very clear victory for the Democrats. Again, these numbers do not include early voting, nor do they include the votes not tallied from several broken machines in the village. But it looks like a clear victory. While we're awaiting the candidates' appearance in the studio, we have this unchallenged and very, very opportunity to talk with Matt Sullivan, the executive director now. I keep saying chief operating officer, but that was a long time ago.
That's right. Yeah, over 2 years now.
Over 2 years, you've been at the helm. Well, you're not so gray. I mean, I don't see big changes.
Coming in, you know.
Oh, yeah. I don't see the aging that I had expected. But there have been big changes in LMC.
Yes. Big changes at LMC, big changes in funding, big changes on the federal level with the FCC. You know, a lot of challenges that we're facing right now to LMC-TV's funding structure, but also a lot of changes that are happening internally with the organization. We just underwent a strategic plan. So we have a lot of fun, exciting things that are coming here at LMC-TV, including a build out of our facility, a name change, a mission statement change.
Well, there's an awful lot going on. Let's talk about the facility first, because I think people are used to having satellite studios. There used to be one in Mamaroneck High School. Right. For a brief time early on, there was a time in Rhinebeck High School.
Right.
There was a studio at Emlyn Theater, a teeny studio there.
That's right.
And then for a long time, we were on Library Lane, and we've moved around the community. We're now consolidated at the Mamaroneck Town Center. Right. Does it look like this is a permanent home?
This is a permanent home for LMC-TV. We're very excited to be here. We are going to be occupy essentially the east wing of the third floor of the town center. So when you get off of the elevators to the left,
so you head towards the Boston Post Road.
Exactly. Everything will be LMC. So the way that we've worked with architects, and we've gone through a process with staff and our board and trying to identify a good layout and flow. We're really excited about the design elements, but what we're essentially going to do is open up space for the community and create a maker space, a screening room, which will be really nice, a lecture space, so people want to come in and utilize the facilities, not just think of it, you know, as LMC coming into the studio to film something.
So it could be a place if you want to hold a conference. I mean, you know, I was president of the League of Women Voters 100 years ago.
Right.
We were always looking for a spot to hold a conference or a presentation. So now community members can use the space here?
Absolutely.
Is there a cost for it?
There will be a cost involved. That's one of the components of our strategic plan, is essentially trying to diversify the revenue streams, because we're facing issues right now as people are cutting the cord and moving away from
Well, I want to hear more about that. Money is very, very important to LMC-TV, and I think most of us don't understand it. We have some updated results, though, and that's what we're about tonight, as you well know.
That's right.
This live election night coverage is brought to you with the help of many volunteers, as well as the entire 6-member staff of LMC-TV. Let me give you the most up-to-date numbers. Tom Murphy now leading with 1,876 votes to Norman Rosenblum's 1,117 votes. A big jump up for him, but not big enough. Nora Lucas, 1,822 votes to Stephanie Lividini's 1,065 votes. Kelly Wenstrup with 1,884 votes to Nancy Wasserman's 665. I believe the Democrats are declaring victory. Again, these numbers don't include early voting. I don't know when they will be updated, but it'll be within the next few days, I would expect. But it's a very clear lead for the Democrats in the village of Mamaroneck. I don't know what's happening countywide, but perhaps the internet will tell us, or somebody will call and tell us. So, but back to our conversation as we're awaiting the appearance of the victorious candidates in the village of Mamaroneck. Now, Matt Sullivan, the executive director of LMC, is with me, and we were just about to talk about money. Where does the money come from? that runs LMC-TV?
The majority of the money that runs LMC comes from what are called franchise fees. Those are collected by the cable companies. We have 2 in our communities, and we represent the village of Larchmont, town of Mamaroneck, and the village of Mamaroneck.
Right.
So Optimum and Verizon both, there's a 5% fee on the bottom of everyone's cable bill. That is what's called a franchise fee. That money gets collected by the cable station and then distributed to the Tri-Municipal Board of Control. And from there, the Tri-Municipal Board of Control determines LMC-TV's budget. So it's quite a bit of going, in between different
But that's the main
parties.
source of money for LMC-TV?
That's the main source of funding.
Does LMC get any money from the municipalities themselves?
That would essentially be the franchise money.
So they're passing along
Correct.
franchise money.
So the villages and the town are taking a portion for themselves and then giving the rest of that money to LMC-TV.
Wow. I don't know what the final number is, but is it enough to fund the many, many enterprises that LMC engages in?
Well, that's one of the, as we've been around for 36 years. It's a long time, and we've really grown as an organization. I think the mission of LMC-TV has always more or less remained the same, but the technology and the ways in which we're trying to engage with the community has also changed. So we've looked at expanding our social media reach and going after people not just typically through your cable channels, but having to have an all-inclusive, essentially, media palette. So that's really our challenge right now, is being in as many different places all the time in an immediate way. So having Facebook Live and live streaming and being on Instagram, all of these places that you have to exist at the same time.
I think most people in the community, especially newcomers, people are busy raising their families, they're working, they're using the community facilities, kind of know LMC exists and take it for granted. Not intentionally, but that's what happens when something becomes institutionalized. What does LMC do for the average citizen of the villages of Mamaroneck, Larchmont, and the town of Mamaroneck?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we offer is essentially media education. And people can come into the studio, they can learn how to use cameras, they can take out equipment, they can take a class. We have after-school clubs in all of our elementary schools. We have podcasting opportunities. We do editing classes, so they can come in and learn how to edit with Adobe Premiere, which is the latest editing system, and we also have Photoshop, so they can edit their photos. We work with a lot of organizations as well, so organizations can come in and utilize the space and the studio to create public service announcements, and they can help spread awareness of their message and their organization. So really what our goal here is to not only educate the community, but also help the community and be a platform for them to spread their message, whether it's a personal one, a business, or an organization.
How does LMC interact with the schools in the community?
We cover both Ryeneck and Mamaroneck school board meetings. We also have, as I mentioned, the after-school clubs. We work with the high school, so we're really excited to have some of the high school students here with us tonight, and we're working with them we're going with them to New Hampshire actually to cover the primaries. So that's going to be really exciting, doing some live broadcasting from New Hampshire as the news rolls in up there. So it's really, I see LMC's role in working with the schools as essential. We've had a wonderful relationship for many years. I myself am a product of Mamaroneck schools and working with LMC, so I've kind of come full circle, and I'm back here now.
Were you one of the people crewing for me when I was at the high schools, just starting my program?
Yeah.
You were back. Well, you were the troublemaker.
Well, we have to, probably, but we have to say something tonight that I believe we're hitting a milestone for you, Alice.
Oh, yes? Am I going to be happy? Or
3-0.
Well, this is the 30th year.
30th year of Alice Bloom.
Oh my gosh, I think the community may be
amazing.
very tired of me.
I don't think so. I think you're a trusted name and a trusted resource.
Well, it's funny that you say that. I was recounting to my husband earlier how we started the broadcast. LMC was very new in the early 1980s when the cable companies came in hat in hand begging for the franchise, and nobody quite knew what LMC was going to produce. And I was then, I guess I had just moved to Mamaroneck. I'm a lawyer by training, and got very involved in political organizations, good government organizations. And one of the things that frustrated me was we only had an afternoon newspaper, and the only way to find out election results was to either be at Village Hall, which wasn't always possible, you had small children, whatever, Oh, you're working. But you had to wait 24 hours to know what the results were. I thought, that's ridiculous. These were the days before the internet, but that still seemed a little unreasonable. And I said to Joe Windish, who was the executive director at the time, couldn't we do some kind of live report of what the results of the election are? And he turned to me and said, will you do it? And I said, I have no idea what to do, but I mean, we could figure something out. And we did our first broadcast.
That's great.
And
That's
it was
great
pretty,
story.
if we found those tapes, I'm sure we'd find them very amusing.
I'm sure we can find them too. We have quite the stock
archive.
footage archive, exactly. Many, many years going back. So one of the things that we'd love to do is acquire a grant and somehow take, what I view LMC-TV as telling the story of the community, and we've done that with our wonderful volunteers and producers and staff members and board. It's been a great ride over the years, and we're really looking forward to seeing this through into the future with the name change, logo change.
What is the new name?
LMC Media.
Okay.
We want to be all-encompassing right now and not just limit ourselves to television. And a lot of people, especially for a younger generation, don't understand what TV is.
Of course.
So that's kind of a crazy concept, but it is the truth.
We're a little here, there, and all over the place, but I think it's fair to say that LMC is probably the envy of most of Westchester. Certainly as I've moved around in the community, I mean, there are fine things being done in other public access stations, but I don't think there's anything that has the breadth and depth of LMC-TV.
And I would say that that's really a testament to the hard work that goes in from all of our volunteers and the staff and the board and really the cooperation of the communities over the years. They've been very supportive of the work that we've done, and we're thankful for that.
Now, the landscape has changed somewhat. We were talking about money before, and of course that conversation must continue. A lot of people are cutting the cord.
Right.
Now with the internet and subscription services, a lot of people want to discontinue their cable. They discontinue their cable subscription. That means that lowers the franchise fees that are then distributed to LMC-TV.
Right.
How is that impacting LMC?
Financially. And one of the things that we have to do, I actually sit on the board for the Alliance for Community Media for the Northeast region, as well as the New York chapter of the ACM, and we're looking right now into figuring out ways that we can change the ways in which these funding structures are operating, because what's to say that if you're going to charge a 5% fee to someone's cable box, well, why can't it be through the internet? If it's a video delivery stream or service, isn't it essentially the same thing? So these are the hard questions that we have to ask right now.
It's a tough conversation to have, because of course the people who are cutting the cord have felt that they've been taken advantage by cable, not necessarily seeing that by doing that they're also eliminating the local service that they come to rely upon. Now LMC has made great strides. It's not just public access anymore. We're on the internet, live streaming.
Yeah.
I know when people ask to see my show, I usually say, well, you can catch it. This is the broadcast schedule in Larchmont and Mamaroneck, or you can just go to the internet. Just go to the LMC website.
Yeah, people are busy now, and they don't necessarily like to be told, well, you need to be here to watch at a certain time. So the nice part about having an online catalog and streaming as well is that they can watch when they want, where they want.
And now that was a big stride for LMC to achieve, and I'm sure it took an awful lot of technical hours.
We did, and the other component of all of this is that we are fully capable of broadcasting in HD. It's only, unfortunately, the limitations set by the cable providers that are not allowing LMC-TV to go out in HD and also be on the electric programming guide, which allows people, viewers at home, to see what's coming up next and be able to record on their DVR.
Is that something that you think will happen in the near future?
Something that we're looking at as we enter the window for our franchise renegotiations. That's certainly something we want to take into consideration.
I remember somebody telling me that he wanted to watch my program, A Town and Village 2, and he was going to DVR it. And this is about a year or two ago, and I said, I didn't know you could do that.
You shouldn't be able to do that because that's an issue with the electronic program guide. So if it's on the electronic programming guide, they will be able to do that, to record it on DVR and watch it when they want. But it's still not going to be in HD the way that it should be. There's also another issue where if you're looking for, it used to be in the old days, if you were surfing through your channels, you could find LMC. Well, now all the HD channels are in a higher tier. So if you're on Verizon searching 501, 502, 503, you're not going to get down to channel 36, 35, 34. So you need to know where to go if you're doing that. That's another issue that we face as well. So being on an even playing field with the other channels in terms of being within those channels, the actual numbers, being on the electronic programming guide, and also being in HD. Those are some of the things that we're looking to do in the future.
But you have a lot of things on your plate for sure. I mean, I'm sometimes baffled at how much LMC achieves with so few people.
Thank you.
Working so very hard. Equipment update is a very important aspect. I'm not sure, I mean, we all actually deal with technology and know that it doesn't last very long.
Right,
It's either outmoded, outdated, or broken.
Right.
What kind of schedule is LMC on for update of all this very expensive and very incredibly complex technical equipment that we have?
It really depends on the equipment. In general, you're looking between 5 to 7 years for a replacement plan. We are probably, I think we're about year 5 on our playback system, which is hard to believe because when we purchased the playback system, it was very much state of the art, and it still is a wonderful playback system. Again, we're just being held back by the cable companies to not allow the HD to be seen on the channel. However, if you do watch online, you will see that the majority of the programming is delivered in HD online, so you can watch it that way. One of the exciting things I'd like to mention that we're receiving shortly will be a mobile production van for LMC. So we're going to be able to go out into the field, broadcast live from varsity sports games, parades and other events, and also use it as an educational tool at the Food Truck Festival or Larchmont Day. Roll up, open up the doors, and have all the kids who want to pop inside, and adults for that matter, take a look.
Can people ask that you bring the van to their birthday parties?
That's not a bad idea, Alice Bloom.
I mean,
think that may have...
maybe, I mean, a little cost involved there. Somebody's got to drive that van and run the equipment, but why not have the opportunity to make your own video of your birthday, bar mitzvah,
that sounds pretty cool.
confirmation, whatever.
Well, they can currently come here if they'd like. We offer birthday parties as well. So you can rent out the studio and the green room and have a pizza party, and then we'll put the green screen out and they can be in their favorite film. So that's really fun, and we've had some success with that, and hopefully we'll continue seeing more people come in.
What a great idea. How do people find out about it?
Everything is on the web. So we have a very robust website, LMCTV.org. You can find everything there. We have links for events there. We have ways in which you can get involved. One of the things that we're going to be launching shortly is our annual fundraising and membership drive. So that's a wonderful way for people to start getting engaged with the organization and finding out a little bit more about what we do and utilizing the resources that we have here.
Well, it brings me to a next question I was going to ask you. If there are people other than those of us who are devoted to LMC who are members and achieve some kind of inner circle benefits for that.
Right. Yeah, and we're working on those right now. In the upcoming year in 2020, we have some really fun things to roll out for members. So we're looking forward to discussing those and letting the community know what they can.
Are we going to have sustaining members the way WNYC does and PBS?
That's the plan.
Okay.
That'd be very nice to
have. It actually hurts a lot less, to say $5 a month or $10 a month.
Right.
I mean,
and
more
it's easier
if you can.
as well, just to have a recurring payment. So that's something that people can do. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. I just set up that function on our email blast that we have. So we use Constant Contact, and if you're signed up for our email, you'll receive our weekly newsletters. If you're not signed up, you can do it on our website, or you can email me at msullivan@lmctv.org, and I'll gladly sign you up for our newsletter. But one of the options that you'll have, there's going to be a donate button at the top, and you can sign up for recurring payments, or recurring donations.
A sustaining member.
Yes,
it's a lot less painful, and you're always there. You don't have to remember.
Exactly.
I mean, let's face it, that's just the way the world works now.
Right.
I often muse about how technology has changed in the 30 years since I started to become involved with LMC-TV. When we used to shuttle around SVHS tapes, those big monster tapes, and then went down to VHS tapes, and then mini DV tapes.
Right, and now something that's this small that stores hours and hours of footage. It's
nobody even wants a device. Just send it to me electronically.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's changed so dramatically. I think about how when I used to do publicity for my show, it would be half a day sending out releases and copies of clips and in DVD or tape form, and now it's press a button.
Press a button. exactly.
It's remarkable how that's changed. Now, schools have changed a lot too. We used to have a lot of students volunteering.
Right.
Have we seen a resurgence in that?
Well, yes, that's one of the things that we're really working at right now is being more present in the schools, and especially starting younger with the after-school clubs in the elementary schools. We're trying to work our way into the middle schools as well. You know, the high schools have great video programs led by Emily Dombroff and Dave Golden, so they're close partners with us, and we're happy to work with them. And the work that comes out of the high school is really incredible, and I see it time and time again. You know, the filmmaking and the style and the stories that the students are telling are really top notch. So it's exciting to see those things, and also, you know, have those students come here and produce pieces for us, which we're working on doing right now. So.
Do we work only with Mamaroneck High School?
No, Rhinebeck as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, there used to be a very easy feed because we were located in Mamaroneck High School and for a while in Rhinebeck.
Right.
Now we're next door to Mamaroneck High School.
Right.
Do
Not
kids
too far
drive? I know, it's that kind of community.
Right.
But has that been an obstacle to participation?
No, I don't think so. We're right next to the high school. Students can walk over within 5 to 10 minutes, depending on where they are in the building. You know, Rhinebeck is a little bit further of a commute to come over, but it's not far at all.
It's about a half a mile, I think.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. So, but
Right.
how did the students find out about LMC?
Well, we're present in the schools. You know, we do different presentations within the classes. We try to do our best as far as advertising in the community. We had 2 bus shelter ads that we put up a few months ago. So one of the pushes that we're going for, and actually strategic plan number 2, is a really heavy marketing push in the community. So we're relying upon all the local organizations to spread the message of LMC and let everyone in the community essentially know who we are, what we do, and how we can benefit everyone who lives and works here.
Well, you know, Catherine Parker and I were talking a little earlier about the proliferation of communication, and maybe that's not such a good thing, because we're so overwhelmed with so much that comes at us that everybody's got to try a new strategy to get your attention.
Yeah. Well, we're in a very saturated market for messaging and visuals. So, you know, that's another component that we're constantly facing, which is how do you break through that barrier? And a lot of the times you go back to the old style of doing things. I mean, having a flyer, having a handout saying something in the mail, having a poster that's out in the community at the intersection of Weaver Street and Palmer. I mean, it's amazing that the response that we get from just posting something out there. So, you know, you just have to be creative with what you do and try to assess what's working. But I think we're doing a really good job at trying out new things and trying new markets right now.
Well, I know you're working very hard. One project I always wondered about was the mural project.
Yes.
What's the status of that?
So we're a little more than halfway through, but this was a great idea. Dina, our assistant director, Dina Schumacher.
Newly married.
Newly married, that's right.
I'm watching all of you grow up. I know I've been here 30 years. Dina was an intern when...
Yeah. So this was really Dina's idea, but there are mural pieces that people in or outside the community can purchase. This was done by Jamie Lynn Weisinger at Made Art Studio. And each piece is $200. It's a donation to LMC-TV. So we're trying to complete the mural. People can actually sign up on our website to purchase a piece. So under Get Involved, I believe there is the Get Involved tab. You should find Community Mural. And if you click on that, you can sign up to have a piece, and then your name will be listed on the wall as someone who contributed to this wonderful community mural.
I was really impressed, not only with the mural, which is very beautiful. I get to see it every time I'm here. But before we go to Norman Rosenblum's concession speech, which is, I understand, almost about available, I want to know what the money is used for the mural project.
What the money is being used for the mural project.
Money that's raised through the mural project.
Right. So that is what we're trying to do, is more youth programming and youth equipment.
Okay.
We were able to purchase 3 DSLRs, and these were the same DSLRs that the students were using at Mamaroneck High School, and the intention was, or the thought rather, was that if they knew how to use them, at the high school, they can use them here, but there's accessibility after school. So if they couldn't have a camera at school, they can come over to LMC-TV
So
and
how
use
much
that.
equipment was actually purchased?
Off the top of my head, I would say we purchased around $1,600 worth of equipment, but there's certainly a lot more things we'd like to do. You know, virtual reality is a really cool thing, and
Way cool.
one means of storytelling. There's a woman named Kathy Bisbee who I'm friends with. She runs Brookline Interactive Group in Brookline, Massachusetts, and she's a great leader in the field of VR, and the stuff that's coming out of Big is incredible.
So people at home who are interested in VR, wanting to know more about it, give you a call.
Please, yeah, we'd like to know if there's really an interest in the community. I think it's a lot like LMC-TV, though. Once they experience what it is that we have to offer, they keep coming back. It's just a matter of getting them in the door.
Get them out. I'm hearing that we have a concession speech from Norman Rosenblum. I'm going to ask you to stay with us for a moment and see if we can bring that up for our viewing audience. I understand Norman has made his concession speech. Are we ready to go with that? Okay, then let's go to the tape.
All right, well, all the numbers aren't in, and it's, of course, an open question in this new process of the new election law that actually we don't know what the early voting was, but it seems very apparent that I congratulate Tom and Nora and Kelly on what's apparent their victory. And it is not a negative thing. It's a pleasure to be part of the democratic process. I think it's very important to, again, hopefully people will take at least part of our message and learn to talk to each other, have mutual respect, and be the loyal opposition. So I congratulate everybody, particularly our friends, our family, those that did support us, and including those that actually voted for Tom and Nora and Kelly. It's great to live in the greatest country in the world. So I congratulate them. And thank you, everybody else. Thank you.
Yeah, we just want to, congratulate Tom and Nora and Kelly. A big thank you to everybody who supported us, everyone who came out and vote. No matter which way you voted, you did it. You voted. This is the land of the free and the home of the brave, and that's why we all have that right. So congratulations to those people who did that, and to our opponents, congratulations. Thank you to Norman. Thank you to Nancy. I had two fantastic running mates here, and I am more than proud to say that I was a part of this Friendly Village party. So, thank you to everyone, and just please take care of our village.
Congratulations to Tom, Nora, and Kelly. I will say that for myself, I will continue to do everything that I did in the past. Nothing is going to change. And my running mates will continue to do what they have done. Norman, who has been the mayor 4 times, and my best buddy here, we're going to do it together. Yeah. Anyway, it's the way it is, and let's see how it goes. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you have a great idea for a YouTube video or a short film, but don't know how to make it happen? LMC-TV has what you need. Our equipment cage is stocked with professional quality cameras, tripods, lighting, sound, cabling, and more. Our 768 square foot studio features a full lighting grid, wraparound green screen, teleprompter, TriCaster, and high definition cameras. To reserve equipment,
contact us at reserve@lmctv.org.
Welcome back, and joining me in the studio now, newly re-elected mayor of the Village of Mamaroneck, Tom Murphy, newly re-elected trustee in the Village of Mamaroneck, Nora Lucas, and newly elected trustee in the Village of Mamaroneck, Kelly Wenstrup. Welcome to you all. Congratulations. Now, when I commented that you're tired, you are legitimately tired. You have a right to be tired. It has been a very rigorous race. Just from what I see on social media, which is supposed to help you, but probably adds a whole nother level of work for you, creating videos and posting and what have you. And I understand you guys walk every street in the village of Mamaroneck.
Well, if we didn't walk the street, we had volunteers walking the street. So the community was well covered.
Now, you were walking this year with some high school students.
We were walking with, as of today, 98 high school students.
98?
98 AP Gov high school students who are in Mr. Liberty's and Mr. I think Malley's class. And they're all going to the presidential convention, whether, whatever their party affiliation, they will be at this convention. So they were supposed to learn how to canvass. They did many other things for the campaign.
How did that come to be?
Every year, these kids work on a campaign. And this year, we were the biggest local campaign. So we were lucky to have them. And it was fun. And so, but it was a big undertaking. So we trained kids. We had volunteers training kids, then kids trained kids to canvass. So
Did you find people were very excited to see kids?
Very excited.
Or puzzled?
They were very,
Thrilled.
it was like people were always happy when you knock on their door because they're thankful. But when the kids go, they're like, they want to talk. And they engage the kids. So it was good. And the kids loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Today they were holding signs all over the village, like vote today. And one of them said, it was dark because it was like 5:30 in the morning. And they said, we love seeing the sunrise.
You turned things to a positive trend. What impact do you think early voting had on the turnout in the village today?
I think it's hard to tell yet because we don't know the voting numbers.
Well, the numbers that we have, Tom, if you want to read them off, these are the latest numbers that we have.
Yeah, and these, I think, reflect the numbers that we saw at Democratic headquarters. It was the total of myself of 1,876, of Norman Rosenblum, 1,117, Nora Lucas, 1,822, Stephanie Lividini, 1,065, Kelly Wenstrup, 1,884, and Nancy Wasserman, 665. I know that there are 388 people who voted early in the town of Mamaroneck.
Okay.
I don't know how many voted in that was Village of Mamaroneck residents who voted early in the town of Mamaroneck.
Because we learned earlier that there were people from other places who happened to vote in the town of Mamaroneck.
I got the printout from the county of town of Mamaroneck people who voted early, and I went through it and I counted people who were just in the districts that are in the Village of Mamaroneck. It was 388.
Well, last time we were together in 2017, when you first ran for mayor, Tom, the results I had on election night were 2,666 votes.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's really not fair to compare because we don't know how many people voted early.
Right, and we don't, and that was also a year where it was a county executive election, and so there was a lot more at the top of the ticket. We were, in essence, the top of the ticket.
Right.
Because Catherine Parker was running unopposed.
Right.
Right.
And the town of Mamaroneck, people running unopposed, and then there's the judges, and not to denigrate the judges, but nobody really knows who's running for judge.
Well, it doesn't elicit the same kind of excitement as a trustee race. Now, you folks did many candidates' nights, and you did League of Women Voters, and I'm so gratified, and I'm sure you are, that the League still does that.
Yeah.
I think it's a very valuable contribution to the health and vitality of our community. What do you think you achieved by participating in those things? Kelly, this is your first rodeo.
I've worked on a lot of campaigns in the past, but this was my first time as a candidate. It's very different. But I think the most gratifying piece of it is the number of people you meet who are interested in the community. I think when you're not involved, you tend to think no one cares. And it's really not the case. There are just an awful lot of people who care what's going on in the village and care deeply and who are involved. And so you meet them on committees, but when you're running for office, you meet people who aren't involved in committees, but who care about issues. And so just talking to them and hearing them, that was just really gratifying.
Right. Well, I think we've talked, Catherine Parker was here earlier, and I've spoken with Nancy Selix and other members of the town council, the town of Mamaroneck Council. And one of the downsides of running unopposed is there's no forum for conversation about issues. It doesn't have to be a contentious conversation, but there's no forum for letting the community know what's going on. There's no longer a Daily Times or a newspaper that clearly and comprehensively covers the issues in a small municipality, and there are lots of things going on, as I certainly learned spending many, many hours with you all prior to tonight. Do you find the tenor of the election was in any way impacted by the national stage?
I didn't find that. I think that our opponents and us ran an election based upon the issues. There was a big choice. There was a divergence of views, and they have a view it's a legitimate view, but it's totally contrary to our view, and about development and about other things. And it's not that their view doesn't have a perspective. It has a perspective and has a legitimate perspective, and it was up to the voters to decide, if that's what they wanted, the direction they wanted to see the community. I think in the past 2 years, the board has made a lot of significant change, and this was kind of a referendum from the people of the Village of Mamaroneck whether they were satisfied with the direction that the board had taken, or if they wanted to go back to the way it was. And I think that the people wanted to go back to the way it was, and I don't think it was contentious at all. We had the debate, and there wasn't anything but just the debate about the issues, and none of the literature was out of control.
It wasn't particularly negative.
No.
I mean, that's always been a concern.
No.
Mm-hmm. Now, you got the opportunity to talk with people up close and personal. We know that there are many major issues in the Village of Mamaroneck. What did you find people were most concerned about, and what did you find people were most uninformed about? Nora, maybe start with you.
I think, 2 years ago, people were really concerned with traffic safety and development. So this year, I think people are very happy that we're working on safer routes to school, and we've lowered the speed limit. So they feel they're still concerned about traffic and they're still concerned about safety, but they feel that there's progress being made to try and rein it in a little bit.
Now, but why were they so concerned about traffic and safety? What changed? It seems to me without a local catastrophe, and I've lived here long enough to have lived through some catastrophes, but without a current one, as far as I know, there hasn't been one. What energized people to be worried about safety?
Well, I think there have been a couple of accidents where kids had been hit by cars on the way to school, and they haven't been terribly hurt, but if your child's hit by a car, it's alarming.
Traumatic, yeah, sure.
It's traumatic. And so, and people are not, they're not letting their kids drive to school or bike to school because they feel, walk to school or bike to school because they feel it's dangerous. So that's putting more traffic on the road. So they just sort of want a little bit of a slower pace so kids can walk and bike to school. So I think that's the concern. And it's when you're trying to go someplace during the school commute, it takes a lot longer.
Of course.
And I think people are frustrated with that. And the other thing is development. And people were concerned about overdevelopment. And with some of the buildings that have gone up in the last 2 years that were in the works before we were elected, people are realizing that that's just even more impact. It needs to be controlled a little bit. So people are relieved about the development. And people were also, the other issue is people were we did an early voting flyer and we carried it with us as we walked, and people were relieved to be able to vote early. I'm not sure what the big turnout was, but they liked the idea that they didn't have to vote on election day, that they could vote earlier. So
yes, that's what I'm hearing from a lot of people. So it seems like
those were
going to be
I think those were three big
progress
points.
Kelly, what did you find frustrating, or what did you find people were uninformed about that you thought they needed to know more about?
What I heard a lot of was frustration with losing the SALT tax exemption.
The taxes.
People are really angry about that, and I think they so they want the village to cut back as much as we can, which we are. I think on your tax bill, the village portion is pretty small. Nonetheless, I think we have done really well at putting the village on a really solid fiscal footing. We are extremely concerned that every tax dollar that's spent is spent wisely. And so when you can talk to people and give them examples of things that this board has done to help the village long-term financially, to save money wherever we can, they were glad to hear it. But there's a lot of anger there about SALT.
I could imagine that.
Yeah.
Now, the county embarked on a new program of sharing some of the sales tax revenues with municipalities. That has to be helpful somewhat. although you don't necessarily know how much is coming.
No, we don't know how much is coming in yet. I mean, it's definitely helpful, and it's definitely going to provide some relief. But the thing about sales tax is it's variable.
Of course.
You know what your real estate tax is going to be. You can set that. So I think what we should do with the sales tax is use some of it to offset the tax increase, and the other part of it use it to do projects maybe that you wouldn't have normally been able to afford. Because if you keep it all to use as a tax lowering device, then in the next year if you have a recession and it's halved,
you don't get what you've expected.
Yeah, now you have to raise property taxes.
Okay, we have only a few moments left. I'll give you a moment to tell the community what you wish to achieve in the next 2 years. Kelly, I'm going to put you on the spot first.
I would like to see the community get more involved. I think communication about what's going on is always a problem. I think now that we don't have a newspaper, now that we are dependent more on apps and online resources, I think we have an ad hoc communications committee. I hope we can get it making some significant changes. I hope we can get the community more involved in looking at the website and knowing what's going on. I think it's going to be tricky because often people say, "Well, I didn't know this was coming up," and I understand that
so
frustration.
much coming at us. And so I was just talking with Matt Sullivan about that, and the challenge LMC faces. Communication is what we do here.
Yeah.
However, we're all so overstimulated and overwhelmed with the amount of information that comes at us that just to survive, you delete.
Yeah. Well, but if I can just say, I was on Mamaroneck Avenue a couple days ago, and I saw in the Roberts store one of your screens with community information.
Oh,
and I thought,
screen, yeah.
This is a beautiful thing.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it highlights what you guys offer us and give us to enrich the community, and it allows us to get messages out so that people know what's going on.
Well, I think everyone's looking forward to greater and continued participation.
Yeah.
Nora, what would you like to achieve in the next 2 years?
One of the questions that the kids had a lot of homework in addition to this. They had to answer questions. So there were a lot of interviews and question answering. And how does media affect your campaign? And I said, we don't really have any local media, so we don't have the newspapers anymore. What we have is LMC-TV, and we have the opportunity during a campaign to do 2 Meet the Candidate shows and the League of Women Voters debate. And that's really a great resource that most communities don't have. And I think to Kelly's point, with we need to figure out how to get more information to people that's not just email blasts. We're using those same kinds of screens in Village Hall just to talk about meetings in the village buildings. And so I'm hopeful that we can maybe work with LMC-TV to get more information out about sort of the daily things that are going on in the village.
Put you in touch with some people who might be able to help. You're in the right place.
And my other actual thing is the comp plan. That we put the comp plan update on the back burner. Comprehensive plan. Put it on the back burner while we did the moratorium. And now we're getting back into the comprehensive plan, which is a really good opportunity for people to comment about what they see as the future of the village.
So it's a very interactive process.
It's a very interactive
with workshops with people. People who live here. You don't have to have special skills in architecture or planning, but just people who can participate and talk about what they would like to see in their neighborhoods. Tom?
And Alice, what I really want to work on is making us a less car-centric community. To allowing folks to walk more, to bike more, to make our streets more friendly for pedestrians. The streets should not just be owned by cars; it should be shared by the whole community. I think environmentally, we have to do that as a society, in the macro. In the micro, I don't think that we can fix all of our traffic and other problems by just engineering cars and car solutions. We have to have solutions that think outside the box. And I think that cities and communities and villages that are going to be successful in the 21st century are going to be cities that get cars off the street and communities that get cars off the street. So I'm going to work hard at that. And I think slowing people down and telling people about how to drive safely and to protect our children is a big part of it. But I think to make communities viable, livable, you have to make them walkable in the future. And I think that's what we need to work on. But I would just like to thank the people of this community. for giving us another opportunity to participate in the government and to try and enact change. And hopefully, if people see us going the wrong way, they'll let us know. If people have suggestions or ideas, please let us know too.
Well, I imagine people are not particularly quiet in this village. When they have a concern, they know where you live, and they have your email as well. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much for coming in.
And thank you for doing this year after year, Alice. I really appreciate it.
It's really a lot of fun, and this is actually the best part of the evening. There's so much I'd like to talk to you about, but I'm getting the sign to wrap up.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you go in just a few moments, but I'll ask you to stay here for just a moment as I say thank you to everybody at LMC. And thank you at home for watching. A little shout out to Dina Schumacher, who really spearheaded the production of this event. Louis Simons, who was directing for us tonight. Sean Kelly, Andre Gordon, Wade Green, Austin Curley, Lisa Curley, Christina Karina Forrest, Elvira Vasquez, Tyler Gavin, Rob Moretti, Steve Aloisa, Sandra, Millie, Francisco, Morgan, and Aiden, our high school students whom we could not have done this without. I'm Alice Bloom, your host for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good job, Alice.
Thank you.